Good morning, everybody. Ubisoft has finally officially revealed Assassin's Creed 4, and we're about to blow the lid off of everything that we know about the game. I'm Daemon Hatfield. This is Rich George. This is Mitch Dyer. These two fine gentlemen have been to Ubisoft, seen the game running, at least in-game footage running, and they have a lot of details that they can share with us. But first, let's kick things off with the debut trailer for Assassin's Creed 4, and then we'll jump into discussion about the game.
All right, lads. I'll give you Blackbeard's honest opinion. You ask me, can this new captain promise you a life of prizes, plunder, and adventure? Aye. For amongst all the gentlemen of fortune sailing these West Indies, he ranks amongst the most clever. There was a time when I thought myself the deadliest scourge of these seas. But this man is a fearsome dog that feeds off trouble and turmoil. I seen him clear the deck of a Spanish galleon like it were nothing. Fighting like a devil, dressed as a man. And he's a canny one. Knows his way round every crag and crevice of these islands. So if it's fortune and adventure you seek, then Captain Edward Kenway's your man. Only, don't meddle in his private affairs. For there's more mystery to that man than even I dare ask. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Pre-order now and get a free limited edition poster designed by Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane.
So Ubisoft has had a hard time keeping
a little
this
bit.
game secret. They had a lot of plans to reveal this game. It was that, the full reveal wasn't supposed to be live until 9 a.m. this morning.
Yeah,
right?
this may have been one of the roughest
I
game
am
reveals
shocked.
I've seen. Yeah, I mean, so
This never happens with Assassin's Creed, guys.
well, I mean,
never.
That's the thing. We saw the cover last week. We got
Right.
confirmation of the game, and that was. I mean, Yves Guillemot, their CEO, had already said the game sort of
so bad at
exists in
French.
it.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine. It
yeah.
works. Yves, all right, it's fine. But yeah, he said that that there was a new Assassin's Creed in the works about a month ago. Then we got but then the trailer leaked over the weekend, and then everything started leaking, and then a 9 a.m. embargo became a 2 a.m. embargo. That's why you've already read about the game, I hope, and now you're watching a live stream.
So, new setting, new assassin. Maybe it's pretty significant that we're already getting Assassin's Creed 4. There's been a new Assassin's Creed game every year for the past 4 years, but they've been alternating numbered. There was like 2 games in between 2 and 3.
Yeah,
right?
they were
they
like
went-
subtitled with
Yeah.
Brotherhood and Revelations, then we moved on to AC3, and now we're jumping into like kind of a mix of the rest, right? Where we have AC4 with a subtitle,
Yeah.
Black Flag.
I like the idea. I mean, I think that the problem with 3, I think, was, it definitely had its significant flaws and some gameplay issues and that sort of thing. But I think one of the problems that worked against the game was just hype. It was like Street Fighter 3 back in the 90s, where nothing that Capcom back then could have come up with would have lived up to the hype of Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I think the same way happened with AC3 to some extent. So I'm glad that they're doing 4, change things up a little bit. I'm frankly quite pleased to move beyond the American Revolution and Connor.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that one of the cool things about 4 is that it still deals with Connor's lineage. It's his grandfather is the star of this game, Edward Kenway.
Edward Kenway.
I mean, I'm not going to say Edward Kennedy this time. I was doing that in the rewind.
And then we already have a release date.
October 29th.
29.
October 29th, which I like keeping track of these things. It's currently the latest release game that we know of.
It's after GTA, it's after Splinter Cell.
After Beyond Two Souls.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
That one's coming October 8th. So
The one interesting thing is at least the way, and I was glancing at it this morning, the way they worded the press release is that the 360, PS3, Wii U versions are October 29, and they're being vague about what that next gen thing looks like, right? Because they can't like confirm a release date of PS4. They also can't actually confirm that there's a Microsoft console. It just says
and
PS4 and other things.
Consoles.
You know?
Yeah, but historically, Ubisoft has been very supportive of console launches.
Yeah.
And at the turn of the last generation, we saw lots of Ubisoft games coming to both PS2 and Xbox 360.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Personally, I will get this for like a next gen console.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the weird things about 3 was that I saw this great footage. And it was the PC game, and I'm like, well, I would like that game, please.
I mean, it had the same issues that another Ubisoft game, Far Cry 3 had, that Crysis 3 has, in that it's a great-looking game on consoles, but because it could look just that much better on another console or on PC, it kind of looks bad.
One other thing I'll just note, you were talking about the release date. They do not specify PC either on October 29. So PC
I asked the director when you and I went to the presentation, I asked, hey, Ubisoft has been saying lately, the PC audience is becoming something they're more aware of. You guys want to treat them right. With Splinter Cell Blacklist, that game is coming out day and date on PC. It's like the first Ubisoft game ever to be simultaneous release across all platforms. And they seemed very cagey about Black Flag having PC on day one.
Well, and it's kind of strange too because they just, I think the week prior, had made said a quote about the fact that they want to help PC gamers more, or be more with that audience. So, we'll see.
Now, just to let our viewers know what the sort of plan is for this morning, we're going to talk about the game for the next 20 minutes or so, and then we have an interview with the game's director that we're going to run, and then we also want to answer questions that you have about Assassin's Creed 4. So tweet your questions at IGN. We're using the hashtag AC4.
AC number 4, not that Roman numeral IV trash.
And then, as to the best that Rich and Mitch can, they will answer any questions you have about the game. So tell us about what you were able to see behind closed doors.
Yeah, so the presentation that we saw was basically we sat down with the director and a producer, and they ran us through about a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, right.
Video games.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of bullet points about what the goals and ambitions are. We saw the CG trailer that we watched earlier, and then got a little tiny glimpse of the game itself in like an in-engine trailer. It wasn't like a gameplay trailer. It was just kind of like a sweet montage of Edward doing a bunch of cool kills, like jumping from one ship to another, sailing around, killing guys, sword fights, double pistols, all sorts of stuff. So
very high level.
Very high level.
This is our, it's probably what they came up with a couple years back when they were coming up with the game. It's like, this is what we want to do. This is the world we envision. This is the hero we envision. They do get it. They got into some gameplay specifics, and they weren't shying away from anything. When you ask about something, obviously they're saving a lot for later. When they talked about like multiplayer or the modern day element, they were kind of cagey, and they're like, we'll talk more about this later. And if you tried to ask them,
they acknowledged that it was there, but they wouldn't say any specifics about even like who was designing multiplayer, whether or not ships would play a role in multiplayer, any details about the modern day stuff at all.
Pertaining to multiplayer, I think really all they basically said in a nutshell was like bigger, better stuff. You're like, okay. But that was very vague. But I mean, we do know about the hero. It's Edward Kenway. He's the grandfather of Connor. And they're trying to, at least from what I can tell, make him contrast more with Connor. Connor was kind of plain and quiet, and I think by a lot of people's standards, boring. And so Edward's supposed to be a little more charismatic and a little more, I don't know how.
Well, I mean, you would think a pirate.
Exactly.
Have swagger.
Well, and that's the other thing is he's a pirate from the get-go, right? So he's not just.
He's not an assassin.
Is he a pirate from the ghetto?
Love that.
Actually, he's supposed to have a very poor upbringing and be very down on his luck, like all pirates were back then. But that's the idea, right? Is like, a lot of these assassins are in the case of Altair, he's already part of the Order, or they're just some generic dude who gets pulled into this thing. Whereas, Edward is a pirate that then, somehow the assassins find him, and then his own sort of internal nature of being a selfish bastard conflicts with the assassin order of, kind of trying to be selfless and help the world and help the greater good and all that sort of stuff.
Sounds like a young Ezio then.
Yeah, right.
Sort of
I think so.
Arrogance.
Yeah, except
but to a more extreme level where he's kind of a not cool dude. Like he sounds like the description page that they showed us during the PowerPoint presentation just had all of these adjectives that were like terrible person, terrible person, terrible person. To the point that it's like, I'm wondering, do I want to play as this person? I'm kind of interested to see how they handle that dynamic that Rich mentioned, where he's a bad dude in a good order, but do I want to be a person who's kind of a dick?
It's a fine balance to get, right? You want your Sons of Anarchy shield bad guy that you love to cheer for, not the annoying kind of bastard that you're ugh.
You mentioned Sons of Anarchy and the Shield. Apparently, the director's a fan of Kurt Sutter's work.
Yeah,
and wants to build sort of a gritty world like.
They want the HBO take, right? They don't want Pirates of the Caribbean. They don't want like Krakens bursting out of the water, which is funny for a series that deals with like this ancient civilization
Space,
that like
alien,
shows up and
ghosts.
zaps you in the face, and an golden apple that zaps things.
I got a magic ball. It makes everyone's brains explode.
But no Krakens.
No Kraken.
No
We can
Krakens.
confirm no Krakens, but there are whales apparently.
There are whales. So the one of the cool things I think that made Mitch and I both very excited is the idea of the Far Cry 3 team being involved with this game.
Yes.
What happens over at Ubisoft is one game finishes and that team will kind of move over for the sort of final months of development of another game. So the Far Cry 3 team, or some of them, moved over to Black Flag. But one of the things that'll probably have an impact on some level is that this game has hunting again, but also has harpooning when you're on the ocean. I guess we should talk about this in a second, but it is a full open world, sail the open seas and kind of go where you want. But anyway, there's hunting, there's harpooning, and it factors into Edward's evolution somehow.
I might feel bad if I harpoon a whale.
I won't. Whales are the enemy.
You would think so, but when I was playing Far Cry, I was like, at first I was like, tiger, he can attack me. All right, I don't feel bad about this. And then I'm like chasing pigs and just slaughtering dogs.
I'm gonna get you, little guy.
Yeah.
With my machine gun.
You quickly discard all notions of what you would probably do in real life.
Yeah. Ethics go away.
Yeah.
So, open world.
Yeah. So, I think this is one of the, obviously everything we saw was very much like the promise, and so we'll see what happens when we actually play the game. But it's
No
supposed to be
loading times, 50 areas, lots of hidden secret. We'll see how this
I'm
all
curious where the loading will be, but the idea is that you're supposed to be able to sail anywhere you want, that there's 3 major cities, and then there's about 50 or so locations. I don't know if that's including the cities or outside of the cities, but you can go do like jungle islands and Mayan ruins.
You're going all over the
just
place.
various
Cuba,
places.
Jamaica. I think they mentioned Florida is involved somehow.
It's like that. There's the pirate capital, Nassau,
Yep.
Kingston, Jamaica, which is apparently really crazy and rough and kind of a wicked sort of town,
And then Havana, Cuba.
Havana, Cuba, which is kind of this game's equivalent to Venice, much more idyllic and trees everywhere and stuff.
Lots of
like that.
verticality, shingled roofs, and then they also integrate trees into the city because it's kind of overgrown. So that's how you get the tree navigation in the cities.
Yeah, and so the idea is you're supposed to at least be able to sail anywhere, do kind of Far Cry 3-ish, where you go where you want to and go check out stuff and do things, and different islands have different things. One of the cool things that I really enjoyed, and I think the AC series was sort of getting weighed down by, were these missions that were overly complicated. It's like do A, then B, then C, then D, and you're just like, can
Follow
I just
and listen and stop and wait. And
and you
stealth
just
and hide.
and all you wanted to do was you knew at the end of all this you were going to kill the dude. So apparently, according to the interview we had with the director, he just said, we're skipping all that. We're just going to go kill this guy. Whatever you want to do, just go get him.
And you could do that
go
stuff.
do it.
You could hide in the bushes and wait for him to go take a leak or for his guards to go away or whatever. Or you could just, from your own ship, you can connect to another ship, and instead of swinging across and sword fighting him, you could just free aim and shoot him in the face from across your boat.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things is the naval battles are back from AC3, but they're building them out and really kind of adding more to them.
They're also a more natural, integrated part of the world, because sailing is so integral to the experience now, where you are sailing around the West Indies in the Caribbean, that you need your boat at all times. So you have it, you can just hop on a boat and sail away. You don't have to go to a hub and say, I would like to go on a boat mission now.
So Edward is the captain of his own ship,
The Jackdaw is his ship.
and he has a crew.
Yeah, he has a
Does.
crew, and there's some sort of element there where you're going to be. I would actually, if I had to guess, and we don't actually know this detail, but I would envision it being kind of like the Brotherhood,
They're the
right?
Brotherhood.
You recruit guys, you get them, you manage them somehow. I don't know to the extent which you can upgrade them or what that entails, but the idea
I'm sure
is
it
you
will
have
be
a crew
very,
with
very
you.
similar.
Yeah, and you can actually see it in the CG trailer, but the crew seems to always be with him in one shape or another. Whether it's
He's always got a posse.
whether it's raiding boats or they're on the they're in Havana with him and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
And we see this is Blackbeard here apparently.
This is Blackbeard, yeah. So exactly, coming back to sort of that idea where we were talking about the HBO style take on this thing. Blackbeard is not the Pirates of the Caribbean one where he's like twirling his sword and controlling all the ropes on his boat. This is actually supposed to be the real guy who also coincidentally is named Edward, who is more myth than legend actually. And so the trailer kind of alludes to it, but he's sort of telling the legend then of your Edward Kenway. And sort of hyping him up and building him to a mythic level.
He has 4 guns and 2 swords.
Yeah, he's not messing around. I think you can carry 6 guns.
Okay.
Was something they mentioned. Yeah,
it's 4.
You can definitely carry like 6 weapons though.
Yeah. You start with 1 gun. You can get up to 4 guns that you can chain. Like this is sort of hinting at it right there. And then he's got 2 swords. He's got his hidden blade. More weapons.
Something just occurred to me, Rich.
What's that?
So in Assassin's Creed Liberation, the Vita game, we got Aveline, and you could just touch dudes on the screen, and that would be like your mark and execute. You think with 4 guns, maybe we'll have that mechanic integrated, that Splinter Cell Blacklist Conviction-esque. Mark 4 dudes and shoot them down.
I hope to God no. This is one thing, Damon, that's pretty cool.
Shark?
A shark.
Sharks!
Yes, the shark is cool.
That's also where I gravitated. I was like, yes!
But underwater, there actually is an underwater element to the game with exploration. This, I think, is one of the areas that Mitch and I are a bit, concerned about or curious and concerned about. Is like, how do you do that? And like, can I swim everywhere? Like, can I just swim the entire world underwater, or is it just limited to specific missions?
I'm gonna swim from Jamaica to Cuba.
And how does that control? Assassin's Creed is very much a land-based game, and it's also a game based on verticality and climbing buildings and stealth and that sort of thing. So when I'm in the water with the fishes and the sharks, like, do I want to do that? And the whales, right? And the whales. Maybe you can go hunt whales underwater.
I'm gonna get you with my
I'm gonna get you, and he just swims away. I don't know. I'm curious about that. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that's what this sort of presentation sort of calls up. Is when you're only seeing a bit of in-game footage and you're seeing like the presentation, you're honestly left with more questions and answers and more promises than actual reality.
And it's not the kind of questions where like, I can't wait to know more. It's more like, in a sense, like, I'm confused. Hang on.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about this, because I'm unclear on this.
Yeah, because they introduce all these ideas like open world, no loading, and and as seamless and everything. Oh, by the way, what we're seeing on the screen here, they'll probably cut back and forth to it. It's just sort of a introductory idea, trailer to Edward. Lots of slow-mo, lots of just Edward killing things and generally
it's basically just CG
being an
porn.
assassin.
Look how cool this guy is, missing both of those shots.
Yeah, you can't. He doesn't really seem to be hitting them there. So anyway, it's just more of like a hype.
Just to get you pumped
teaser.
up about who this guy is.
Yeah, smashing people with bottles, that sort of stuff. But yeah, anyway, I mean, we did see in-game footage, but I think Mitch and I, on one level or another, and we'll actually have a video piece going up later today with, him and I just discussing our direct thoughts about everything we saw. But you want to see more, that was a cool CG trailer, and the Edward teaser is fine. Everything they said sounds good. Haven't played it.
Okay, so you
haven't seen somebody playing it.
So you didn't come away thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome.
Well, and this is the thing, is like, I love pirates. Like, I'm actually a big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Maybe not 4, but 2, I like 1, 2, and 3. I like all that stuff, but I'm curious to see where they go with this. But I'm not sitting here going, oh my god,
Yeah.
We didn't have the same reaction when, like that. Do you remember the first time you saw AC3? And you were like, what?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yes.
Like, I did not have that reaction at all.
Well, maybe that's because
And
the way AC3 ended up.
Leaves me.
Leaves
So
me
now I'm
being a little
cautiously
cautious.
optimistic. I'm like, this sounds cool, but I'm gonna wait and see what I.
See
what I think.
I think every publisher, this isn't even to do with Ubisoft, every publisher has perfected, or most of them have perfected the art of the unveil and the pitch and that sort of opening salvo with their cool CG trailer.
And then it leaks.
Yeah, and then the leaks, they perfected that too.
Got that nailed down.
I think every publisher has figured that out. So now I think we're all a little bit wiser, and you look at something maybe even like Aliens Colonial Marines, where all the presentations of that were looking quite good. Yeah. And then we get the real game and we're like, what happened?
Can we have the other game that you showed? Can we have that one?
Yeah, where's that one, And so I think, and the weird thing about AC3 is I think for a lot of folks, when they actually played it, they realized that the American Revolution, as cool as that idea sounded, maybe wasn't as awesome in sort of outright execution and gameplay. You get into Boston and you're like, oh, this isn't as cool as Venice,
Yep.
I mean, it just, and And you would have never known that, but that's just how it worked out. And
That's something that this is really looking to rectify, though. So cities were boring, and the open world stuff was kind of boring. The frontier was kind of empty.
Yeah.
And if you talk to those guys, like during the presentation, they were very clear, like it's going to be better. It's
Yeah, I
like,
think-
it's dense. So there's more stuff. There's a lot more to do.
It is a different team, right?
It is a different team, and it's also been in development for about 2 years, but 2.5 by the time the game comes out. So I mean, I was actually impressed with, and you know, we didn't sit there necessarily asking them right off the bat about all the maybe flaws of AC3 or the issues that the franchise was facing, but they addressed a lot of them, and then we asked
kinda hit
about
on
a
it
few
more.
more. Yeah, they just did it, and what I thought was interesting about that was that they seemed to have a good self-awareness about maybe where the franchise was trying to do some things. I mean, you even look at AC3, and with AC Revelations, they had those tower defense missions, and AC3 is like, nope, you know? And so, I mean, I think that the team and the different teams are able to watch what the other teams are doing and be like, maybe we won't go that way, maybe we'll do this sort of thing. One of the things that the director brought up when he was speaking with us was that they're trying to get rid of systems that just don't make any sense. So you're dealing with 50 different like islands and these different cities that are spread apart by water, and they're sitting there going, does the notoriety system make any sense?
Yeah.
Because how the hell is that going to work? And
Yeah.
so they've actually gotten rid of it. And so it just doesn't exist in this game. And I think that's smart. You need to be able to do that and not sit there and go, well, we really like our notoriety system, even though it makes no sense.
Especially in the context of a legendary pirate. If Blackbeard is going like, he's so mysterious, I think he's
Yeah, I
kind of
think
scary.
everybody's gonna
No,
know.
like, got it. I got it. I understand. Like, I don't need a system to tell me that people know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I was impressed by that. I do like the fact that they are sitting there going, what works about our franchise, what does not. That doesn't mean that the new game is going to be perfect, and they may find some other stumbling points. I like the idea that you've got jungle elements. I like the fact that you've got mine ruins. That probably lends itself to the like tombs and more like kind of cave spelunking or whatever the hell you want to call it of some of the past games that sort of
The Prince of Persia parts.
yeah, the cool like go find the treasure, go find my
love that
cool
stuff,
armor. Yeah, I mean I want to go find some badass armor for Edward that's like hidden in some cave somewhere. So yeah, I hope all that stuff's back.
Now later this year we're getting Wind Waker HD.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Right.
Some people have likened, an open world.
That was the funny thing is when we sat there, they were like first open world ocean game ever, and I was like,
Rich was like, nah.
I was like, hey, damn it. No, I think that for anyone who has played Wind Waker, I mean one of the appeals to that game was being able to just I'm gonna go over here now, and I mean that game had sort of its navigational issues and sort of commanding your boat, but the idea still stands. That idea is cool, being able to just kind of go, I'm going to go over here now and see what's over there. And I mean, they sort of echoed Far Cry when they said that, but like in Far Cry 3, when you're just wandering around the jungle, you're like, hey, what's this cool thing? What's this
Yeah, you
like
stumble
hidden
across
ruins?
a cave and what's in there? I'm going to go in there. And there's
you're like
treasure and loot and a collectible.
It's like a cat in a box. You're like, I have to see what's in that box. And so
Is that a thing? Is that like an analogy I've never heard? A cat in a box?
have you never cat in a bag? Put a bag down in front of a cat and watch what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's how
I
you
understand.
catch a cat.
I was like, I'm on the street and there's just a cat in a bag, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to help you.
A cat will always go to a box, just like Rich will always take the boat to the island to go look in it.
And also bags. Rich gets stuck in bags in the office all the time.
That's how we catch him.
I'm just
Yeah.
standing in
Where's
this little
Rich?
box.
I don't know, put the bag down.
Yeah, so I mean, I like the idea of the exploration. I think that is actually a very, good thing to exploit. If you're gonna have a big ocean and a bunch of islands, you better want me to go there.
So what else can you tell us? What details have we hit on?
Modern day. Let's talk about modern day.
All right, so are we going to spoil the end of AC3?
Let's just say his story ended.
Okay, so the modern day stuff in Assassin's Creed 3 was closed.
As if that doesn't give it away.
They closed the loop.
That story has ended, and
Desmond has closed.
yeah. So in Black Flag, during the presentation they avoided all of the animate stuff. There was no indication at all that there was a modern day thing, and the whole time Rich and I are sitting there going like, oh man. They got rid of it. They got rid of the sci-fi garbage. They're going to let us just exist in history, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this panel comes up and says modern day, and we're like, oh no, it's back. But it's a weird new thing where you're not Desmond in an Animus. You're you. You are literally you, the player. And when Rich is playing it, it's hi, Rich George. Welcome to Abstergo Entertainment. Abstergo being the villain, being the modern representation of the Templars. So, Daemon, when you sit down to play this game, you're going to sit down as Daemon Hatfield, and you're going to be in the modern day, and you're going to log into the Animus, and you're going to go play Edward Kenway's story.
Now an assassin.
So everyone's
Congratulations.
part of the Brotherhood who plays the game?
I guess so. So the idea is that you're going to go into Kenway's history. You're going to go back through Desmond's memories, as somebody.
They did something very similar in Liberation.
In Liberation, yeah, you booted that game and it was like this weird DOS thing where it's like, welcome to Abstergo Entertainment, loading the profile of this person. But you're, as Damon Hatfield, you are being used to find information for Abstergo.
Yeah, I think it's weird because I think a lot of people are in agreement that the modern day stuff has felt strange. But I think it's because we're all accustomed to just going to different points in history and in any game and doing whatever we want. You want some reality with a bunch of monsters? Cool, that's cool, no problem. And I think for whatever reason they decided to really explain this to death when they came
we're
up
going
with
to
the game
contextualize
concept.
this with like, okay, so you're this guy in a machine playing this guy who's going to find the guy.
Yeah.
No, just let me play the game.
It always struck me as someone going like, well, you have to explain why I'm in the medieval era. I'm like, nope, you don't. I'm good.
It's a video game.
I'm okay.
Just tell me I'm playing a video game.
Yeah,
Like,
you got it. Assassins versus Templars. I'm on board.
Yeah,
I don't need
I'll
this
be
like
okay.
future garbage with like I'm a test subject and I need to talk to Veronica Mars about
Yeah, like
whatever.
yeah, like there's some sort of like need to be relatable. I was like, I am totally cool with being a badass assassin that stabs people.
Yeah.
All good.
On board.
Plus, Desmond was kind of boring for the longest
Desmond
time.
sucks.
And I just was never a fan of him. I like this approach a little better, and they were also kind of vague. It seemed like there was, especially for fans of the AC series, you might be able to explore the facility, maybe get some information.
Yeah, there's definitely
or something like that.
some portion of the game will be like, all right, and between chapters you're back in the modern day, probably first person again, like kind of like AC Revelations puzzle stuff. But now you're like wandering around this facility, like looking at Abstergo's files and stuff, and investigating and discovering what they're really up to.
For anyone who has seen the Assassin's Creed Encyclopedia, there's actually a lot of really cool sort of subtext and history to this franchise. A lot of material that just never really makes it in the game or is kind of subtle and you never really kind of pick up on it because you're trying to kill people. And so I think if they start building a lot of that information into there and maybe even weave in like some of the comic book legacy and some stuff like that, there could be some cool opportunities.
Yeah.
It might actually be worth my while as an AC fan to be like, oh, I'm going to actually explore the modern era. Because, the way it was in the past, I just did not want to do that. Like, just let me keep doing the pirate thing. I mean, that's the trick, though, right? Is if I'm really enjoying the pirate thing, and let's hope that I am, because that's most of the game, I don't really want to go to the modern day era.
I don't want to
to
be in Desmond's limbo dreamland when I could be just, Altair and hanging out with those people.
That's always their
Picking up the end of
struggle, is trying to figure out, like, all right, if we're going to bring you into the modern day
It's a
era,
very easy solution, Richard.
yeah, not
Get
do it
rid
at
of
all.
it.
Yeah, it's a tough thing for them.
Now, you mentioned Liberation.
Yeah.
Do we think Ubisoft will plan a portable companion to Assassin's Creed 4?
Because it worked out so well last time.
Well,
No word so far. Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, so Liberation did okay on Vita. Like, it sold enough that I think Ubisoft said it was profitable, but it did not. It was not very good, and it got kind of buried because it released the same day as Assassin's Creed 3. Its hero sucked. Its mission design kind of sucked. There wasn't a whole lot to it. Maybe lesson learned, hopefully. I don't know what the companion thing would be.
Yeah.
Maybe just play as another pirate.
I would be more inclined to say that we see stuff like on iPad or iPhone, iOS stuff. Whether
It's a safer bet for Ubisoft.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think they did I want to say they did a card game or something on
There is
iOS.
there is a card game,
PC
which is
card
good.
game. Yeah, so maybe they go that route.
Recollection, maybe that was called?
Something like that.
I can't remember. I mean, I know that they'll keep. I mean, they've got the movie, which I think is due next year.
Oh, Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do there. I mean, what will that be like? Yeah, I mean, they're going to keep doing their multimedia, brand strategy for AC. I don't know that Vita or 3DS or whatever are in the works for that though.
Well, so we have an interview with the director of Assassin's Creed 4. Before we get to this, viewers, if you have any questions about Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, just tweet them at IGN with hashtag AC4. We'll try to answer them for you.
That's the number 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Numeral 4.
Yeah.
But if you mess it up, it'll probably be fine.
Cool.
So what are we going to see here?
So basically, we got a chance. So we got the 45-minute presentation, and then we sat down with the director for about I don't know, 45 minutes.
a long
or so.
time.
It was a long time. And
Longer than we were supposed to.
Yeah, and we talked about everything from just the basic game world and the game hero to developing for next gen, adjustments to gameplay, everything, the whole wide range. So if you guys are just tuning in and maybe you didn't see the article yet, this is a great way to kind of step into what they're planning for AC4 and then go read all the cool stuff on IGN because it's awesome. And Mitch and I worked really hard on it.
Yeah, there's a lot
Mostly
of good
Rich.
stuff.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at it.
All right, cool.
With with Assassin's Creed 4, we are going to the pirate era, the 18th century Caribbean to be more specific. This was a time period that was really filled with a lot of intrigue, a lot of really legendary characters. And with every AC, we always try to transport players into a time and a period that was a key moment in history. We love going to places where we know players will never actually be able to visit time-wise and physically, perhaps. So the age of piracy. It's an incredible moment in time where a bunch of lawless men decided that they were going to take control into their own hands and attempt a democratic government. But these guys were pirates, so they partied and they drank their gold away. And so this government failed in a spectacular fashion. And then subsequently, the people that attempted it after them was the American Revolution. So we wanted to tell the tale of an attempt that failed, where AC3 was an attempt that succeeded. It is a pirate theme. It is 18th century. It is about these people that existed who were pirates. But we are not telling the Disneyfied version of pirates. You know, at some point, I guess with Treasure Island, the idea of piracy was very romanticized. And we felt as a dev team that there was this really incredible opportunity to tell the actual, the realistic version of it, the very gritty version, for lack of a better term, I'll say the HBO version of pirates. We see that there is this opportunity that exists out there. No one's done it. So this is the tone we're going for, something that's much more gritty, much more authentic. Our main hero in AC4 is Edward Kenway. Edward is a British man who grew up very poor. Characteristic-wise, he's very charming, he's very charismatic, but at the same time, because of his poor upbringing, he's very reckless and selfish. And so we meet Edward at the beginning of the game as a pirate. And as his story progresses, he meets with assassins. They begin to train him for their reasons, but he has this internal conflict now. Where he is this very selfish person wanting his own motivations, but at the same time the Assassin's Creed is asking him to be selfless. Every time we come up with a new character, we really try to define a motivation, a reason that this hero exists, and give them their own unique personality. Altair was someone who is duty-bound. Ezio was someone who's very much more flamboyant and extravagant and a charmer. And of course Connor is much more of a quieter figure who is much more tough and had a different perspective on life than Ezio. And he dealt with things in a much darker way, and that was his personality that was created for him. Again, Edward is a brand new personality. He is very charismatic, so he does talk a lot. He is very big with his actions, but he's also selfish and reckless. And so this gives him a really unique twist to his personality. And again, because he begins the game as a pirate, his transition into the Assassin Brotherhood is really different than the previous Assassins of the series. The world we've created in AC4, it's really the freshest and the most different world that we've ever created. As previous ACs, we still have the main cities. We have 3 main cities, Havana, Kingston, and Nassau. But we've also built a really massive world that's filled with 50 unique locations. And the way the players travel through this world and the way they interact with the different things is really different than previous ACs. For example, as you're driving the Jackdaw, your ship, when you see a beach, we want players to, if they feel like it, let go of the wheel, jump in the water, swim to that beach, do their thing, and then come back without ever having a break in the pacing or in the immersion. This is really important for us because, again, it gives credibility to the world. It makes you feel that this world does exist. Every element in it is integrated properly. And that this world is really beautiful and stunning, but it's also logical and credible. AC3 built a very incredible, exciting new system for naval combat, something unseen in gaming before. But we really saw this as a tease. It was a tease to a bigger system. And so we've taken this and we've built on this strength, really going deep on more enemies, different types of AI, new weapons, a really deep progression system on the Jackdaw. It's a ship that you need to customize and you need to upgrade and give it new weapons. You need to take care of its crew. Edward himself can be upgraded. There's a big progression system around Edward himself, and the hunting system and the harpooning activity actually, which is the hunting in the sea. These two systems feed into the progression of Edward as a hero. Edward can carry up to 4 pistols. You start the game with 1, and then you need to upgrade to be able to carry the 4. You can shoot 4 back to back, you can shoot 2 or 3, and it actually changes your combo in a different way. The stealth element, we want stealth to be a viable component, a viable gameplay for players. So we've been working really hard on having new gameplay ingredients, a simplified detection system so that the rules of being detected are much easier to understand and have stronger feedback. For example, the jungle is a very stealthy environment. You don't have to play in stealth, but good luck not playing in stealth. There are enemies and dangers that really incentivize you to be stealthy. The split between the naval and the land, in the missions, in the main path, it's about 60% land missions, 40% naval. But just to be very clear, we do not see this game, and we don't want anybody playing this game to see it as a game that's a sea game with land maps that you load into. It's the Caribbean, it's one world. Our mission structure is much more open-ended. People loved the assassination setups from AC1, and we wanted to have this ideology back in the game. The idea that we give you a simple objective and you use whatever tools and mechanics you have at your disposal to accomplish this goal. So there's a lot less hand-holding in the missions. It's really giving basic objectives, simple objectives, and then as a player you do what you want to accomplish that. The present day of Assassin's Creed 4, it follows up on the end of Assassin's Creed 3. Where we pick up, it's 2013. So reality now and the present day from the game have merged. So we've taken this opportunity to actually have the player more ingrained into the narrative, the player themselves be part of the story. So the new present day hero is you, the player. And you are someone that is hired by Abstergo Entertainment, which is a subdivision of Abstergo Industries, the Templar company, to use the Animus. And this is something, again, that's been updated in the stories, that the Animus technology has progressed. Anybody now can go into the DNA, the ancestry of someone else. So we still go into Desmond's ancestry, but it's the player, it's themselves as the hero that does this in the present day. Assassin's Creed 4 is confirmed to be released on Xbox 360, PS3, Wii U, PC, and PS4. The way we work on this is we are using the Anvil Next engine, which was something that was developed by AC3. The Anvil Next was really meant for next-gen technologies, and it had the ability to also work for current gen. So we are working in one engine. Right now as a dev team, we are really focused on AC4, the core experience of Assassin's Creed 4. But for sure, every console is going to have its own intricacies and its own feature set. So support for the different controllers, support for the various features, announced and unannounced. And the technology we have is built to do this. Assassin's Creed 4 specifically, we do have a team of programmers and technical artists that are exclusively working on the next gen element of the game. We are simultaneously working on current gen and next gen. We do want to be very friendly with people who are new to the franchise. AC3, from this perspective, was very successful. It brought a lot of new fans to the series, and we want to continue this progress. So we do teach the systems, but again, we try to do it in a fun way, in a really interesting way. The fact that we have the seamless naval world now gives us new opportunities to introduce mechanics, but in a fun, new way.
So if it's fortune and adventure you seek, and Captain Edward can wait your man.
Okay, so as we said, if you have questions about Assassin's Creed 4, tweet them at IGN with hashtag AC4, and we will answer them. We're starting to get some questions in here. This one comes from New Black Elite, who asks, I thought the world was destroyed at the end of AC3. Spoilers. How is there a present day in AC4? I'm a bit confused.
Yep.
I guess we're confused
We'll have
too.
to wait and find out what that narrative conceit is all about. I don't know.
I don't know. Again,
Wasn't it that Desmond did that thing to preserve the world so it did not get destroyed? Like, spoilers, sacrifice himself to save humanity or some
This is
Dumb.
why
Don't worry about it.
This is why I don't need the modern day
Exactly.
element.
Exactly.
Just let me be a pirate. I don't care about the rest.
The second it throws me into the modern world, I'm just like, nah, back into the Animus. Like I don't care about this.
I don't want to talk to my like grumpy old dad. I want to talk
Oh,
to like
God.
the annoying assistants or that needlessly bitchy scientific researcher. Let me just be a pirate.
That smarmy
and go-
Brit who's like, oh, I'm a smart ass
That's-
comment for
that's the
everything. Like,
guy
shut
you-
up, Sean. I'll
Yeah,
stab
seriously,
you.
where's my hidden blade when I need it? Anyway.
All right.
So not
we
much
don't-
of an answer. But
No.
that's okay.
Well, I mean, we don't know.
We
We
don't
don't
know.
know.
We don't
We don't
know.
know, nor do we really care. We just
mean,
wanted to play as pirates.
That's actually the thing is like a lot of people asking questions. I'm getting some in here too, and it's just like I don't know. You know, well, if someone asked, let's see where to go. How does Naval? Oh yeah, here we go. Paul Coleman wrote in. Any idea how Naval gameplay might weave its way into multiplayer? It's like I hope it does.
I hope so. I
but
mean, it's
don't know.
such an important part of the single player campaign that I have to imagine that in some capacity they must be involving it in multiplayer. Because it would be silly to have this game where you're like, all right, cool, sailing is so cool in AC3. In AC4, we're getting so much more of it. It's way more dynamic. I can like hook onto ships and pull them toward me. I can avoid other kinds of ships and like pull other ships into storms and fight them there. Like it is so important to the navigation, to the combat, that to strip that away from multiplayer completely would be a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah. At the same time, I kind of wonder like how do you do that in multiplayer? Because AI, you know, you can program be like keep pursuing him, keep engaged. If I'm in multiplayer, what's to say some guy who I'm fighting is not just going to start sailing away from me very slowly, and you just have this very slow chase going on.
Stealth boats is what it's going to be, Rich.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Maybe
you're
a
gonna
whale
blend in
will-
with other boats.
Stealth boats.
So were they not talking about multiplayer at all?
Not
yet?
at all.
Okay.
No. I mean, if I had to guess, it's probably like
Montpellier.
Annecy or Montpellier, probably,
One of those
right?
two, yeah.
Working on it again, like they usually do. They did for AC3. But, you know, that's about it. So at some point in the future, we'll see. I'm sure.
TBD.
Yeah, I remember for AC3, I think it was at E3 where we first got our
I think so,
playable
yeah.
hands-on.
Yeah.
But just for multiplayer, they saved single-player hands-on till like September or something like that. It was really far
The
away.
game's done, now you can play it.
Yeah, so, yeah. TBD on a lot of this stuff, so.
So we hit on this before. We can hit on it again. John MCW asks, do you have any idea who the present day protagonist is?
It's you, John.
It is.
It's
It's
you
literally
or
you.
you or you.
It's the player, right? Like they don't want it to be this. They don't want to personify you as some fake person like Desmond, because whether that's because he sucks or because they want to give you some kind of player agency within the Assassin's Creed world. They again very unclear.
Yeah.
They're not very forthcoming with information just yet.
Josh wrote into me and asked, how long has the game been in development? It's over 2 years at this point. I believe it was summer of 2011. Yep. So that's about two and
coming
a
up on
half
2
years by the time the game's out. By the time the
Before
game's out.
even Revelations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right? Because we're talking about how they're making adjustments to gameplay systems. And I mean, that's the thing, right? If they started before Revelations even came out, I guess they also knew that tower defense sucked because you know, like all these ideas are not in this game. I don't know how that works. We do know that there's like a brand team that's higher than the development teams that sort of helps guide a lot of this.
Sure.
I don't know if they like, you know, how do they know? Like, how do they know the receptions to tower defense is going to be so bad? I mean, they clearly didn't put it in there thinking it's a bad idea in the first place. So how do you go, oh, no, none of this?
It must be frustrating for them because, like, you know, they start working on their game and then almost a year later, Assassin's Creed 3 was revealed and everybody's freaking out about it. And they're like, we're working on something cool too.
Yeah. It is really interesting because it also, you know, I think we saw the naval gameplay in AC3, and you'd almost say, okay, well, this is clearly an acknowledgement of AC3's naval gameplay being a really solid element. But these guys were making this long before AC3 even came out. So, I mean, they must have some sort of great system for recognizing what should stay and what should go.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, at least on
They just
on
listen to the
fundamental-
Clash song on repeat. This is a question from B-Fett. Let's assume it's Boba Fett. Did they explain how they're going to find a balance between ship and land combat missions?
Oh, so you probably heard it in the interview. He said 60-40 split, so 60 land, 40% naval. And you know that's kind of their approach.
But these are missions that he's talking about. I wonder
Yeah,
what the naval missions would be like.
Yeah, I don't know if I assume that the naval missions will less be about take your boat, go to sea, kill a bunch of guys, and then leave. I assume it'll be something like, hey, you're in Havana. Could you go up to Jamaica or down to Jamaica. I don't know geography very well. Could you go to Jamaica and do a thing?
Where's Canada, Mitch?
That way. And then on the way, like you'll hop in your boat.
Which way is it really? I think it's that
I don't know
way.
what direction
I
we're
think
facing
that's-
right now.
That's Canada.
I don't know. I'm in a big dark room.
Yeah, we're in a black box right now. No sense of direction.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
I think
I assume your
makes sense.
mission will be like go from here to here, get in your boat, sail across the world, encounter guys along the way,
I'm sure
dock at the city, go do more stuff.
we'll see the naval equivalent of a lot of land missions, right? Escort this, keep quiet about,
Yeah.
stealth
Yeah,
trail this guy over here, and do, run these errands. And
On
stuff
the mission,
like that, I'm
you
sure.
will be part of key events of the time, right? Like the Spanish Armada.
Oh yeah.
Like
good point.
that's a big thing that's going to take place. So you're going to be involved in that somehow. So obviously there will be like big boat events. They are not specifying how much of it will be, like what the balance is between that and walk around and follow a guy mission.
Sure.
We're getting a few people asking, actually, is this going to be a trilogy and that sort of stuff? And I mean, like, I don't know if we've really talked about it too much, but they've sort of made it clear that they're pursuing some sort of Kenway saga. Basically.
I hope this is the end of it. Don't care about that family.
Well, we'll see. I mean, like, but clearly they're pursuing. I mean, we saw Haytham last game in Connor,
Yep.
and now we're with Edward. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see it. Like, the common element in all of this is the British Empire and sort of the sort of
Yeah.
Templar influence. So maybe we go back to Britain for maybe
Well,
the
so
next
something
game.
that just occurred to me. They must be working on the next game now
Oh, yeah,
already, right?
100%, yeah.
Honestly, they probably know what AC5 and honestly, probably even what AC6 and 7
They
would
totally have the next like
theoretically be.
10, 15, 20 years of the series planned out, for sure.
And I mean, but they're being very clever. I mean, in like a Star Wars-esque fashion, where presumably the movie fits into this mythology somehow. The comic books do, So all these things probably play in, and that's cool for the hardcore fans of AC because it all connects. Much like the Star Wars universe. Well, did I guess now with the new trilogy, everything's going crazy, but. At one point it did. So, and I think that's cool, and in order to do that, they do have to plan out far in advance, just like Marvel does with its movies, actually.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
Ace Master asks, will we be able to sail free roaming or is it mission-based?
It's free roaming. You can just hop in your boat and sail away and go do whatever you want. You can go hunt a whale, you can go look for treasure, you can go to a random island location, you can go from one city to the next. It's a totally open world. It's not... Your activities on boats is not limited to missions.
Oh, so we just got an update. Someone actually, so a different outlet in their meetings explicitly asked if there will be multiplayer naval battles. Answer, no.
What?
Well, that's
Yeah.
a goof. That's a...
Speaking to
yikes.
CVG lead content manager Karsten Myhill, hopefully I pronounced your name right, I don't know, says ship versus ship battles on the high seas will not be featured. We're going to be communicating on multiplayer in the coming weeks. However, what I can say is we won't be doing naval multiplayer for Black Flag.
That is upsetting.
This is,
This is a question from Kathmillion1403. The new character is so hot. How do they create those hotties?
He's a pretty man. He's got a little bit of gruff to him. He's got that long hair. He's got like a Paul Walker Sawyer thing
I think
going.
Sawyer, it's
they
just-
just went
yeah.
and found Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, that's
and
totally
just
it.
made him a pirate.
We know that the director's a fan of Sons of Anarchy.
Look at that. That's 100% Jax.
Jax.
It's the same person.
He almost
Just
has,
get Charlie
looks
on
like he's
to
wearing
be
a
the-
hoodie.
to be
Also,
the-
looks
yeah,
very, like,
yeah.
Also, let's be clear. This is CG.
Oh yeah, this is not what this game will look like.
Probably won't look quite like that in the actual game.
Yeah, we got a question that asked if we saw it on PS4, and it was like, no, not at all, not even
no.
close. We saw,
We did. We
even
saw,
the footage we saw was PS3.
Yeah, PS3 and sort of in an ideal state, right, where you're
Which
not
means
looking.
PC.
You're not looking at proper game angles. You're not looking at
Yeah.
user interface, AI. All that
All
stuff
that
is
stuff,
not
too.
put in there. So you're looking at, oh, this is pretty good actually for PC or PS3.
Yeah.
But when you put all that other stuff in, it's going to impact the game on some level. So
Mitch, you have Twitter questions for us?
I do. I
Read
had
them
it, but
tweets.
it's gone. I lost it.
read them.
No,
I'm looking.
It's always there on Twitter.
I had a good one. I can't remember who it was. It was Citrus Joe. Citrus Joe asks what we think of all the emphasis on gunplay.
Oh.
The trailer seems fairly heavy on, hey, look at how many guns this dude has.
Like-
Look how many people he's shooting with all
I
those
hope-
guns.
I hope, and this is for comic book fans, but I hope we get to like a Rob Liefeld era where like guys are just walking around. These are just like giant guns, like pirates. It's just giant bazooka type guns.
Is Rob Liefeld the cable guy?
Yeah,
Not like Jim Carrey's the cable guy. but the
He's the cable
Okay.
guy. Yeah, the giant guns and like wielding like Gatling guns in both hands
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It would be great.
I don't know. I feel like because each of those pistols is flintlock, you only get one shot with each. He can only do 4 shots, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those guns are gone.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I assume
I'm
you'll
okay.
probably still be able to pick up guns. You'll probably be able to find pistols all over the place and slot them and hang on to them. 'Cause
mean,
in all the imagery, we've seen him have like 5 different kinds of pistols.
It is tricky from a gameplay perspective, right? I mean, you're talking about a stealth hand-to-hand combat game primarily, and now you keep introducing guns and going into gun-related eras, and that's going to change things. But
How long till he gets a flintlock silencer?
That could be okay.
What would that look like? That'd be amazing.
I mean, I'm okay with them stretching it a little bit. I doubt many people were walking around with 4 pistols like strapped to
Right.
them. But then again, also the guns of that era did not hit anything. So I'm
true.
okay with a little bit of fuzzing of history here. I mean, they're
It's a video game.
yeah. I mean, they love to say we're taking a slice out of real history, but there's also like the aliens and apples.
And then we have space ghosts.
space ghosts. So I'm fine with it.
So people complain about Activision releasing a new Call of Duty every year.
Yeah.
It's annualized. Assassin's Creed is totally annualized.
It is.
they're very upfront
They're
about
very
that.
open about
Yeah.
that too. Like you will have an Assassin's Creed 5 next year.
You don't really
presumably.
see as much, backlash against it. You do.
I have been seeing a lot on Twitter. Too.
Yeah.
Some
well,
people have
especially-
been saying I don't need another one so soon, but it's not like Call of Duty.
Well, a lot of people I see are like, why'd they call it 4? Why not just call it Black Flag? As if that would make a difference of what the game would be.
Yeah.
The responses are all over the place too. I mean, my opinion is I get the apprehension. It does feel soon in the respect that 3 just came out, although
The
you got
DLC is ongoing.
and the DLC is still going. I will say though that this game is not coming out till October 29th, so
Yeah.
it's not like and they have to announce a game. They have to do their business. I do think though that I understand the backlash on AC3. So if you didn't like AC3, I can get why you might be apprehensive about this. However, different team, they seem to be aware of some of the issues. But and just strictly looking at annualization, if a good game comes out every year, I'm okay with that. You know, if the game is good, and that's maybe the big qualifier here.
Yeah.
And if people are a little disillusioned after AC3, fair, fine, so wait to see more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just completely dismiss this game. I mean, for me personally, I really liked the naval stuff of AC3. I thought that was quite good.
was fun.
And I also like pirates. So you take the best part of AC3, new character, new era, new team, and also pirates. And I'm very curious, but I want to play it. That's what it comes down to. I want to play it like every game. Like when before I did this stuff with IGN, like I would wait to see what someone thought of when they played the game, and it was that way back then too. Before the sort of mastery of the unveil happened, I was like, okay, well, who played the game and what did they think? So
When do we expect to see more? Actually play some
E3.
AC4?
Play. I think we'll see a lot more at E3. We might get a look at multiplayer. We'll definitely get like our first gameplay demo at E3.
maybe.
I
Yeah,
hesitate
we
to
did.
say that it will be at PAX East.
So no, probably not. So looking at AC3, right? We got guided demos of single player at E3. We got hands-on with multiplayer at E3 and a new CG trailer at E3. And then they actually didn't have like a formal presentation for multiplayer, but their sort of big sort of unveiling of letting us play single player wasn't until September, I think. So we got a
It
little
was like
ways.
PAX Prime.
Yeah, but
was crazy.
they'll sort of like steadily unveil new the one thing we did get at E3 was they actually showed the multiplayer. I mean, not the multiplayer. What the hell's wrong with me? The naval stuff at the Sony press conference. That's where we first got to see the naval elements. So I mean, presumably there's more. Obviously, there's the modern day element. There's obviously multiplayer this time around. There's how the crew and the expanded naval. I mean, they were talking about new enemy types and new weaponry for your ship, and that you can upgrade the ship. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that there. They're pretty good about holding things back, so I wouldn't be surprised to see another couple things in here that we just have no idea about. Although this presentation was actually pretty thorough, like
It was.
from
exhaustive.
From like when I was sitting there by the end, I was like, well, answered most of my questions, short of me playing it and actually getting a feel for it. Like I felt like I understood the game. Which is always the case when you see a game unveiling. You're like, I don't understand what you just showed me.
Yeah.
But this one, I was like, I understand.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
A question here from Naspir, who asks, what do you guys think about an eventual Assassin's Creed in modern day?
Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, I've wanted that for a long
I
time.
have wanted that for a long time, but now that Watch Dogs is coming, it's like, well, okay. That sounds
Well,
like-
and now that they tried that with AC3, I was like, whoa,
Well,
maybe
the
not.
other thing
but
is-
yes, Watch Dogs very much looks to be that kind of deal.
I mean, a lot of Ubisoft games influence each other, and I don't think that's a bad thing, actually, although some people might view it that way.
Oh, really, Rich? You really excited for Mark and Execute in Assassin's Creed 4?
Whoa!
You were all sad about that.
No, it's true. I wasn't a big fan of
I
that.
love Mark and Execute.
Me too.
I like Mark and Execute. I don't.
You don't like it for Assassins?
Assassins, I like to be able to, that's the whole pursuit and stalking and actual kill
Yeah.
is what I want, not like Oh, I clicked a button. Oh, you're going to do it for me. That's awesome. But you look at Splinter Cell and Watch Dogs, and they seem heavily influenced by AC. So if I want a modern day AC, I'll take that, and I'll let AC do my sort of like historical journey stuff.
I keep forgetting Splinter Cell's coming this year.
Yeah, August,
Is that right? Yeah.
August 20th.
Late August, yeah.
August
They
20th.
just haven't been doing a lot with it.
Yeah,
really.
it's gotten a little quiet. I really want to see, AC go to, ancient China, ancient Japan.
Feudal Japan.
There's
Feudal
something
Japan,
weird.
being a
It
samurai.
seems like a really easy choice.
I know.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe they've avoided it very deliberately. For
Maybe.
this long.
I mean, if you think about it, like you could do. There's so much potential hidden in both of those locations and both of their histories that I wouldn't be surprised to see that show up next gen, and just see them really blow it out.
Yeah.
That could be really, really cool. I would love to see them go into Russia. They did it with the comics already, but just do it anyway. Like I haven't played that in a game, so let me do that. I think that could be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, even Egypt could be kind of interesting. Although desert might be a little too mundane, but that's maybe part of the fun of it.
but
is
going
seeing how
into
you can do that.
pyramids and-
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Big tombs underneath.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, I don't specifically. Harry Prasad has a question. He asks, how do you think the game would handle the underwater parts? Breathing, combat? How's that stuff going to play into it?
I
you
hope
think?
there's giant bubbles that let you refill your No, I don't know. And that's the thing we were talking about earlier, right? Is like that's sort of that is probably my biggest worry about the game is
Mine
how
too.
does that work? Like, and also, do I need to do it? Because I probably won't if I don't have to. So
I predict at the beginning of the game you'll be able to hold your breath for a certain amount of time, and then you'll get a tattoo that lets you hold your breath.
No, you'll make a plant.
Yes,
You'll make an injection out of plant juice,
Yeah.
and that'll help you breathe longer.
that's what you do. Do we have any more questions to answer? If not, we do have a lot of content up on the site right
We
now.
do.
for-
Rich has a very
folks to
lengthy
check out.
preview.
Yeah.
lengthy
Lots of stuff in
preview.
there.
There's the interview. If you guys missed it earlier, you can obviously watch it on the site. That's
very good. It's very pretty.
Yeah, and then we did rewinds on both trailers. The one that's for the trailer that you guys have seen repeatedly throughout this presentation, the one with Blackbeard, that's the one where we really start diving into gameplay and talking about the game itself. The Edward trailer, we talk more about Edward. We also have a piece coming a little later today discussing just sort of our reactions, kind of what we're doing now, but just in shorter form. So if you tuned in late, you can get our sort of opinions there. We're going to be doing reader impressions, lots more. We actually are doing a lot of stuff this entire week.
So like, the takeaway is probably we're cautiously optimistic about Assassin's Creed 4. It sounds really cool, but we haven't played it yet.
I think so. CG trailers are cool. Now let's see. Let's play the game, right? I mean, and that's it kind of holds true for any game we see, really.
Sure.
So yeah.
But thanks for tuning in for us this morning. We'll have lots more on Assassin's Creed 4 coming up in the not too distant future right here on IGN. Everybody have a great day.